In this topic, we're going to be talking about the basic of fashion photography tips. Just the tips for basic of fashion photographer. Now just remember, if you invest in your time, if you invest in your skill set, if you invest in building a relationship, if you invest in your gear, if you invest in building the right team, eventually you're going to succeed. And if you invest in having the best, working with the best, collaborating with the best, and be willing to help and listen and be coachable, you will eventually get to where you want to be. Now, and also you have to invest in your brand, your personal brand image. I believe all photographers should probably at some stage should have a personal brand image. If you're interested in getting more bookings or you want to work with more clients, you can. What I would recommend is to just start up your own personal social brand, as I'm doing right now, talking to you guys on camera. If you can do all this up front, you'll be on your way. Now, as a beginner in the world of photography, it can be very tempting. I remember it's very tempting to think having the best gear is what's going to make you work successful. Don't get me wrong, having the best gear sometimes do work, but it's about you behind the lens that's going to make the difference. You're the driver you're the driver. So if you're behind the lens, it's exactly what you do with the camera. I've talked with photographers in the past where I've met photographers that spend 80 grand on cameras and they buy different expensive lenses. Obviously, if you're working with high production where, say, the client's got a million or maybe a couple $100,000 for budget for the photo shoot, and there's no expense spared, you can obviously go ahead and just invest in as much. But I would recommend start with what you have. And I know a lot of time as a fashion photographer, you might get embarrassed by your gear. To be honest, a lot of the clients don't know exactly what gear. It's surprised you have a decent gear. And I know sometimes photographer want to impress their client. They want to bring out all their gear on the tables just to make the client feel like what they're paying for is actually worth it. I can tell you for a fact, I've shot some of the best pictures on just a 50mm lens. A Canon, give me any camera and I can make it work. Essentially, what you want to do is you want to create your own reference point or your own style of photography. You're gonna experiment. You're gonna learn. You're gonna pick up fashion magazines. You're gonna read what's in the blogs. If there's any new up-and-coming photographer that's trending, you might want to work with them. You also, as well, if you have an agent, that would be great. But your agent can also do so much for you. And there's also this content side of photography. There's the workflow side of photography. If it's possible, if you can get someone to do the sales for you, to go send out emails, if you're going to send out cold DMs, go to events, network with photographers, network with brands, go to fashion events, send out emails, call up people that need your service, present your portfolio to them. It's pretty much a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But once you build a brand, a solid brand, you can skip all this. But building a brand will take time. It will take years, and it will take investing as well in your personal brand and in your photography business. Now, obviously, I have a range of lenses as well. This is debatable, but I recommend shooting it in RAW. Personally, if I'm shooting product photography, I don't tend to shoot in RAW images just because it's not necessary. But if you're shooting in RAW, maybe it's something that they're going to print, you can select the RAW file, and that allows you to make color correction, and it allows you to make any changes as opposed to shooting a JPEG. But if it's just going to be on social media and just on the web, I recommend just shooting JPEG. That's debatable. Shooting RAW or JPEG, it's not something I'm going to dive into. Also, post-processing is also essential. I know a lot of great photographers that outsource their editing. They have got a great retoucher. There's a different talking point actually where you come up with the concept, you come up with the models, you have the team, you have the location, now you have the shoot. Now, what messes it up with most people is post-production. post-production is one of those stuff that make or break your photography. So if you haven't invested the time in learning your more about post-production, then I recommend putting time and effort into it. There's a photographer that comes to mind, Tamara Williams. I believe she used to be a banker, but her photography was just mostly beauty pictures, but it was just absolutely mind-blowing. So post-production is great if you can find a retoucher to work with, or also you can take a couple of courses on retouching, and you can do that part and try to learn as much as possible, try to improve your editing skills. And obviously now that there's applications that even make that job easier. Also, one way to improve your skill is to assist, like I said, assist other photographer. Be an assistant to the photographer. Make sure you maybe go help them with a photo shoot. You can be able to learn and get experience. I personally took photographer that had zero skills, brought them under my wing, took pictures. They worked with me for a year, and now their work is just mind-blowing. I can count on the tip of my finger. Now, the most important thing is your portfolio. In the early days of portfolio, when I used to model, sometimes you might be tempted to just put all your pictures in just to show you've done a variety of work. But think of it this way: for every photo shoot you do, maybe you might have one or two pictures in your early days. But as you become more professional and you're well in tune into the photography business, you might start to show spread of work that you've done. Maybe it could be going to a shop, going to a shop and talking to the stylist to get clothes for the photo shoot. Maybe working with a local designer or that kind of stuff. So, and also I want to touch up on this. It's very important to follow client instructions, because if you work with a good client and if they feel like they're not being heard, or they think you're not taking their work seriously, even though you might be the best photographer, there might be a clash. So just be aware that you will need to have some sort of middle ground with the client and try to help them achieve the goal that they're trying to achieve, as opposed to trying to shoot what you wanted to shoot. I hope that makes sense. So I would say try to invest in a strong portfolio, and whether you have to spend money on that is debatable, because and with anything that's artistic and creative, it's just like you're throwing in efforts and hoping to get a return in the future. So try to build a strong portfolio. You might see other photographers that you admire their work. My advice would be to, still like an artist, you can take different style of composition from different photographer and create your own unique style. Ultimately, like I said, becoming a successful photographer is not going to happen overnight. But if you do all this that I talked about, you will go a long way than most people. Now, like I said, if any of the stuff that we talked about resonate with you, I've got an ebook in the comment below, in the description below, or you can comment Learn with Flawless, and I will reply to the comment. You can get the guide of a 10-page details everything that has to do with being a fashion photographer, from being a beginner to professional intermediate. The basics are all outlined. I'll see you in the next video.